What's up guys, today we're talking about the OnePlus 8 Pro. One of the first videos on my channel was me talking about my brand new Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. I've been using that since I got it and I'm still loving it, so don't worry, I'm not switching. But I was able to get my hands on a OnePlus 8 Pro just to show you what it's like and maybe see if one of you guys might want to buy it. Not necessarily this one. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, we have a pretty big box. I thought my Galaxy S20 Ultra box was pretty big, but this one is even bigger. It's pretty tall. Almost the same size as my foot, so it's interesting why they would make a box that big, but maybe we'll find out once we open it up. So unlike Samsung, there is not any information in the top box here, so I can just leave that here. And then that brings us to the phone itself. Got a little pull tab here that we can pull it out. And here it is in all of its glory, wrapped up in plastic. The compartment underneath has a little tab that we can pull up. And inside of this white box is actually some of the product information. So if we open it up, we can slide all of this out. And OnePlus was nice enough to include 2 screen protectors that you can put onto your phone if you so desire. So that's pretty cool. I don't know of any other companies doing that. Next up, we've got some more foot-sized quick start guides. What is this? We've got highest SAR value. Okay. We've got a bunch of stickers. I think my favorite one is my friends call me for tech support, because as a tech YouTuber, that is definitely true. Next up, we have an initiation letter with the SIM card tray pin attached to the back. Stick that back in there for now. And then finally, we have another safety information booklet. Next up, OnePlus also includes a case. So this case has a little QR code, I'm not sure what that does yet. And then on the side it says never settle, and it's a standard clear plastic soft case, very similar to the case that I have on my Galaxy S20 Ultra, without the never settle. Next up we have the familiar OnePlus white and red charging cables. So this is quite a thick cable. It's quite nicely packaged with these little U-shaped hooks. I'm gonna leave that in there for now. It is USB-A to USB-C, so it's nice to see them continuing with that trend. And then finally, underneath this little tab, we have probably one of the biggest bricks that I've seen for a phone yet. On the box here you can see that it says Warp. So this is OnePlus's new way of charging extra fast. So that's probably why they need such a big charger. And then finally we have the phone itself. So we'll open this all up. And here we have it, the OnePlus 8 Pro. So the first thing you'll notice, and the most eye-catching part of it all, is the blue matte metallic finish. I'm a big fan of this. I kind of wish that my Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G had it. It's very resistant to fingerprints, unlike the screen and the cameras. On the back we can see a 3 main camera module with another camera on the side, and then a little black bar and a flashlight. Inside of that black bar there's a little microphone, and I'm sure inside the rest is probably some sort of depth perception, depth sensor or something like that. On the right hand side we have a power button, and then a little 3-way switch for notifications, I guess, if you want to put it to mute, vibrate, or sound for your alerts. And then on the left we have volume buttons as normal. One of the biggest changes, I would say, from the OnePlus 7 to the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro is the omission of the pop-up selfie camera. Now it is right on the front top left corner, the new classic hole punch display. Some people speculate that this is to make the phone more waterproof, as it is now IP68 water and dust resistant rated. On the bottom we have the SIM card tray, we have another mic, USB port, and a speaker grill. After using my Galaxy S20 Ultra for the past 2 months or so, I've gotten pretty used to feeling that big phone, and holding this actually makes it feel quite familiar because they're actually quite similar in size. After taking my case off, you can actually see that these phones are almost the exact same size. The OnePlus 8 Pro is about 1.5 millimeters shorter and narrower, and only 0.3 millimeters less thick. Now those dimensions don't seem too different, but in terms of weight, the Galaxy S20 Ultra is almost 20 grams more than the OnePlus. My guess is that's because of the full glass back compared to the aluminum back on the OnePlus. Speaking of glass, they both feature Gorilla Glass 6, and they both have an aluminum frame, so the build quality is more or less pretty similar. I wouldn't be too surprised if the OnePlus could take a fall better than the Galaxy S20 Ultra because of the amount of less glass on the OnePlus. When it comes to displays, they both feature AMOLED displays, with the OnePlus 8 Pro having a capacitive touchscreen. Meanwhile, the Galaxy S20 Ultra has a 2x capacitive touchscreen. While the Galaxy wins on that spec, the OnePlus features 1 billion colors on its display, while the Galaxy only features up to 16 million colors. I'm not sure if you can really tell a difference between the two, but for almost 70 times more colors, I'm sure someone's eyes might notice that difference. While both being 1440 displays, the Galaxy S20 Ultra has 32 more pixels on the height, making it 511 pixels per inch compared to the 513 pixels per inch on the OnePlus. So more or less the exact same resolution on both of these displays. They both feature HDR10+, and one of the big features that everyone's been talking about recently is the 120Hz displays. The difference here being that the Galaxy S20 Ultra has the option of lowering it down to 60 to save battery. These numbers in hertz is the refresh rate, so that's basically how many times the screen refreshes per second. It's very similar to frames per second, so if it was playing a video at 120 frames per second, you wouldn't notice any loss because it would be able to output 120 hertz. Both of these phones are running the exact same CPU, the Snapdragon 865, and they both run the Android 10 software. Each one has their own fresh face on it. The Samsung has the One UI version 2, and the OnePlus has the Oxygen OS 10.0. Next up we have the storage. They both have the UFS 3.0 fast storage, with both of them having a minimum of 128 gigabytes. At that amount of storage, you would get 8 gigabytes of RAM on the OnePlus and 12 on the Galaxy. You can also get an upgraded version of both at 256 gigabytes, where you'd get 12 gigs of RAM on both. But the Galaxy also can upgrade up to 512 gigabytes with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Next up, we've got the cameras. On the Galaxy S20 Ultra, the main camera is 108 megapixels, which is the wide angle. And on the OnePlus, we've got 48 megapixels on the wide angle. While both of these cameras feature optical image stabilization, or OIS, the OnePlus has a bonus, which is laser autofocus. So that might be one of those things that's inside of this black bar here. Next up, we have the telephoto lens on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. That is the periscope lens, and that's at 48 megapixels. And only 8 megapixels on the non-periscope telephoto lens on the OnePlus. Despite the differences between the two of these telephoto lenses, they both offer optical zoom, with the Galaxy offering 4 times and the OnePlus offering 3 times optical zoom. Next up, we've got the ultra-wide. On the Galaxy S20 Ultra, we have the 12 megapixel sensor, and on the OnePlus, we have 48 megapixels, so that's a win for the OnePlus if you're comparing the two. But a bonus for the S20 Ultra is that this lens offers super steady video. And then both of these come with a depth sensor. Both of these do them quite differently, with the Galaxy S20 Ultra having a 0.3 megapixel time of flight sensor, and the OnePlus having a 5 megapixel depth camera. Next up we have the video quality, and this is one area that the OnePlus is lacking. The highest resolution that the OnePlus can film in is 4K, and that is at 30 or 60 frames per second. 1080p can be filmed all the way up to 240 frames per second, and then there is a 720p mode as well. In terms of video features, it includes auto HDR and gyroscoped electronic image stabilization. And that's about it for this phone. Now the Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G can film all the way up to 8K video, maxed out at 24 frames per second, and then 4K just like the OnePlus at 30 or 60 frames per second, 1080p up to 240 frames per second, and then 720p all the way up to 960 frames per second. In terms of video features, it includes HDR10+, dual video recording, so that uses 2 cameras at the same time, stereo sound recording, which uses 2 microphones to pick up the left and right sound channels, and gyroscope electronic and optical image stabilization. Next up we've got the selfie camera. They're both considered a wide-angle lens at 16 megapixels and 40 megapixels, so quite a big difference there. Both of these selfie cameras can film at 1080p up to 30 frames per second, but the Galaxy S20 Ultra can also film 4K at 30 or 60 frames per second. Neither of these phones include the headphone jack, which I'm still somewhat bitter about, but they both have stereo speakers, which means that when you put your phone horizontally, the bottom speaker would be outputting the right channel, and then the earpiece speaker would be outputting the left channel. In terms of connections, they both have almost identical Wi-Fi connection. Bluetooth, they're almost identical, but the OnePlus has the 5.1 Bluetooth standard, whereas the Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G has the Bluetooth 5.0 standard. They both have GPS, they both have NFC, and neither of them have infrared. One feature that the Galaxy S20 Ultra has that the OnePlus doesn't is FM radio, so whoever still listens to FM radios can still make use of that through your Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. And as we saw earlier on, they both have USB-C on the bottom, but the main difference here is that the OnePlus has USB 3.1, whereas the Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G has USB 3.2. So I guess that means that the Galaxy's USB connection might be just a little bit faster. Next up, we've got the battery. So both of these have fairly big batteries, with the Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G coming out on top with 5,000 milliamp hours. That will last you more than enough for a whole day. I've been able to make it through 2 full days on a single charge, so that's pretty cool with the Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. The OnePlus doesn't have that much, but it doesn't come too far off with 4,510 milliamp hours. So that's still enough to support any sort of use for more or less a whole day. Both of these phones are a beast when it comes to the speed that they can charge. The Galaxy S20 Ultra, when you plug it into the USB connection, will charge at 45 watts. So that's probably the fastest I've seen in a phone so far. And the OnePlus can charge at 30 watts when it's plugged in. So that's a 15 watt difference, which seems fairly significant, but the OnePlus makes up for that in wireless charging with their own proprietary custom OnePlus wireless charger, which can also deliver 30 watts of power wirelessly. Meanwhile, the Galaxy can charge at 15 watts through a Qi connection. And then finally with the battery, they both offer reverse wireless charging at 3 watts for the OnePlus and 9 watts for the Galaxy. So now that we've seen all those specs, let's put these two to the test. Here are some side-by-side photos that I've taken with both of these phones. Personally, I think I like the Galaxy S20 Ultra's color a little bit better. Samsung is known for overblowing its contrast and its sharpness in its photos, so that might be why I might be feeling that way. OnePlus has often been known before to have mediocre cameras. I think they've outdone themselves this time and actually created a product that is worth the comparison to a giant flagship like the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. And here is a video side by side of these two phones that I've taken. In terms of stability, I think the OnePlus wins on this one. Resolution seems pretty much the same because I used the same resolution in the settings. And the colors in this video seem to be a little bit nicer on the OnePlus. Since both of these phones have giant sensors, let's try them out in night mode. So here we can see two side-by-side shots of both of their photos in the night mode settings. Personally, I think the Galaxy wins on this one because overall I think it looks just a little bit better. Both of these phones also have fingerprint sensors underneath the display. The main difference is that the OnePlus has an optical sensor where the Galaxy has an ultrasonic sensor. Because of this, the OnePlus has to emit just a little bit of light in a circle around the fingerprint sensor so that the sensor can actually see it, since it's optical. The Galaxy, however, doesn't need to do this. It can operate in super low light and still work. If you were thinking about buying one or the other, now that we've seen all the differences and similarities between these two phones, the last thing I'll share is how they feel in the hand. The Galaxy is more of a rectangle with rounded edges, so the back is completely flat, the front is completely flat, and then it's only right around the edge that it starts to curve around. Obviously, the block of cameras is a little bit different, but normally that's not in your hand when you're holding the phone. The OnePlus, while it does have a more or less flat front and back, it feels more like a Galaxy S8 or S9 by the way that the screen kind of folds over the edges and the back edges meet up with it on the side. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I feel like the industry is starting to move away from the curved screens, at least this curved, because of the amount of accidental touches that you might do when you're reaching across the screen, for example. After doing some side-by-side comparisons of the screen, the cameras, the gaming performance, overall I'd say they're pretty neck and neck in the performance in pretty much every aspect. Obviously, each one has its own strengths and weaknesses, but I think those strengths and weaknesses are pretty much the same amount for each phone. While those strengths may not be the same between each phone, I feel like overall they're both as strong in their strengths. I don't know if that made any sense. But overall, I would suggest both of these phones. If I could, I would be walking around with both, but I have no need for a second phone. But I think I'll probably stick with my Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. Now that I say that name, it seems kind of weird to say 5G at the end of the name, even though that both the phones have 5G. I'm not sure why the OnePlus doesn't call it the OnePlus 8 Pro 5G. And on the same note, I'm not sure why Samsung calls it the Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. Maybe it's more of a marketing tactic. I think that's what they were aiming for last year when they came out with the Galaxy S10 5G, which was the only one in this lineup to have 5G. Now, with all the Galaxy phones having 5G in them, it seems fairly redundant to say 5G in the official name. But this video is more about OnePlus, so who cares about that? However, coming up soon, I'll be making a video of more in-depth of my usage of my Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G and taking you through a little bit more in-depth than what I did when I first unboxed it. So make sure you're subscribed and click the bell so you don't miss that video. So with that said, I think that's about it for this video. This is filmed on the selfie camera of the OnePlus 8 Pro, so maybe I'll throw that in the main video as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a big thumbs up. And as always, follow me on Instagram and comment down below what you think of this phone. What do you think of this outro quality? Let me know. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.